You ever looked at a list of computer specs and thought, okay, but what does any of this mean? You're not alone. Today, I'm going to break down three of the most important parts of the computer. That's the CPU, the GPU, and RAM. What they do, why they matter, and how they actually affect your day-to-day experience. In plain English, no jargon, no tech degree required, I promise. Just real, useful info to help you make better decisions the next time you're looking for a PC. I'm Morgan, and this is Tech for Humans, where we make tech make sense. So let's get started. Let's start with the CPU, which stands for Central Processing Unit. This is basically the brain of the computer. This handles instructions, runs your apps, and makes decisions. Whenever you click something, open a program, or even use your mouse or load a web page, the CPU is doing a lot of the behind the scenes work. Now, you'll see CPUs labeled as things like Intel i3, i5 or i7, or Ryzen 3 57, and so on. Here's a simple breakdown. An i3 or Ryzen 3 is good for basic tasks like browsing and emails only. An i5 or Ryzen 5 is great all-around choice for most users. i7 or i9 or Ryzen 7 or 9 is meant for games, video editors, and power users out there. It's not just about speed. Modern CPUs also have multiple cores, which means they handle more things at once. Think of it like your brain being able to do more things in parallel. So if you're multitasking, watching videos, or editing documents, running multiple programs, a stronger CPU with more cores is going to help run things smoother. Next, let's talk about RAM, or random access memory. I want you to imagine this. Your CPU is the brain, right? But your RAM is like the desk that your brain is working on. Now, the bigger your desk, the more stuff you can have open and laid out in front of you. Your papers, your books, your phone, your coffee, all open and ready to use. With a tiny desk, you're constantly having to close something just to make room for something else. That's how RAM works. RAM holds the stuff your computer is using right now. Your open browser tabs, your running apps, your active files. If you don't have enough RAM, your computer has to keep going back to storage and trying to fetch those things. And that is what really slows everything down. Here's a practical guide. 4 gigabytes, not really enough anymore. You'll definitely feel the struggle. 8 gigabytes is pretty good for casual users, browsing, video calls, documents. 16 gigabytes is good for most people. It's great for multitasking. It's pretty good for gaming and creative work. Now, 32 gigabytes or more is only needed if you're doing video editing, 3D work, or running virtual machines, or you're playing video games while having multiple things open at the same time. More RAM won't make your PC faster, but it will stop it from slowing down when you do more at once. Now, let's talk about the GPU, or the graphics processing unit. You could think of the GPU as your computer's visual engine. It's what creates the images that you see on your screen. The CPU is the brain, the RAM is the desk, and the GPU is the artist. Every image, every animation, video, or game that you see, that's a GPU at work. There are two main types of GPUs. There's integrated graphics built into the CPU, and that's good for everyday stuff like browsing, watching videos, casual gaming, and I mean really casual, think solitaire or really light games, or even using Office apps. The dedicated graphics cards, like the NVIDIA's GTX or RTX series, or AMD's Radeon cards, these are separate, more powerful, and designed for gaming, editing, or 3D work. Modern GPUs don't just help with visuals though. They also help with video rendering, AI tools, and even scientific computing. If you're browsing the web or watching Netflix, integrated graphics are totally fine. But if you're gaming, editing, or doing anything visually heavy, you'll want a dedicated GPU. So which one matters the most? The answer is it depends on what you're doing. Each part plays a role. Your CPU does the thinking, RAM holds what you're actively doing, the GPU makes things look good and run smooth. Let's say you're a video editor. You'll need strong CPU processing for your process timelines and lots of RAM to handle big files, and a solid GPU to render effects and previews. If you're just working on documents or spreadsheets, however, you need a decent CPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and basic graphics will be just fine. The part that is important though is the parts need to match your needs, not just sound fancy. Let me give you some quick example setups. If you're a student or a remote worker, laptop with an i5 Ryzen 5, 8 gigabytes of RAM, the integrated graphics are perfectly fine. For content creators, a desktop with an i7 or Ryzen 7, 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and an RTX 3060 or better is good for you. Gamers out there, desktop or gaming laptop with a strong CPU, at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a dedicated GPU like an RTX 4060 or better. Now, everyday users, you don't have to overthink it. 8 gigabytes of RAM, SSD storage, and a decent CPU will make a huge difference. And the balance really comes between the CPU, GPU, and RAM is what makes your computer feel great, not just the numbers. So what do CPU, GPU, and RAM actually do? Let's do an overview. The CPU is your brain. It runs the programs, where RAM is the desk which holds your open work. The GPU is the artist. It handles the visuals and games and anything that's on your screen. And now you know what they do and why that matters. And if this helped you out, give it a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want a video on storage, refresh rates, or laptop buying tips. And I'm Morgan, and this is Tech for Humans. I'll see you in the next one.